Welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of the Pottstown Borough Buzz. I'm your host, Cheryl Miller. I'm standing outside of the newly painted mural at the old Pottstown Borough Garage that signifies changes and diversity in the borough of Pottstown. And speaking of changes in the borough of Pottstown, we had an opportunity to stop by and visit with the new Pottstown Borough Fire Chief and also talk to some of the different fire companies about the changes happening in the borough. Welcome to the November edition of the Pottstown Borough Buzz. I'm your host, Cheryl Miller. And for our Thanksgiving edition, we are talking about things that we are thankful for. And I am very thankful for the Pottstown Fire Department and how unique this organization is and how it serves us. So we are going to first be talking to the Pottstown Borough Fire Chief, Mike Lassar, and we're going to learn a little bit more how the fire company operates here in the borough of Pottstown. Chief, thank you for meeting with me this afternoon.
My pleasure.
On this very cold, blustery November day.
Typical November.
So the Pottstown Fire Department is unique compared to many other fire companies. We are represented by 4 fire companies within the borough of Pottstown.
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about how that functions.
Well, we have 4 individual fire companies. Each individual fire company elects their members, from their officers to their presidents. And they conduct their internal operations, and then for emergency responses in the borough, I am responsible for all of the incidents.
Chief, our fire companies we have 4 different fire companies in 3 different buildings and representing the entire borough. So can you tell us a little bit about how they're situated?
Sure. The Philadelphia Fire Company is located at 240 Chestnut Street. And they were actually started in 1871. They were the first they were the first fire company in the Pottstown Borough. And 3 days later, the Goodwill Fire Company was incorporated. Their original location was on Hanover Street, but now they're located on High Street in the 700 block. And again, they were 3 days after the Philadelphia Fire Company. And then in 1876, it was the Sunrise Fire Company was formed, that was later changed to Empire Hook and Ladder Company, and they're now located also in with the Goodwill Fire Company. And in 1950, the North End Fire Company was incorporated, and they're in the north end of town on Prospect Street.
So it's very comforting to know that wherever you are in the borough, we are completely represented.
Absolutely.
And you're very new to the Pottstown Borough, and we're very excited to have you, and you work more hours than I've ever seen anybody. In fact, I don't think that I ever see you leave the borough of Pottstown. So tell me a little bit about what brought you here, what drew you here to come work with us.
Well, I think my wife would agree with you that I do spend a lot of time here. I had done 20 years with the city of Reading. It was near the end of my retirement. I was looking at new opportunities, new challenges. The fire chief in the city of Reading was not in a position nor ready to leave. So I started looking outside. Pottstown came up. It was very close to my home. I had applied and gladly accepted the position. I'm very excited to be here.
So you mentioned that you were looking for a challenge, and I know that the borough of Pottstown is very challenging. So what is your biggest challenge here right now currently?
Right now the biggest challenge is recruitment of volunteers. Our entire fire force, 95% of our firefighters are volunteers. We do pay for a driver in each station that assist and get the fire truck out. But again, our entire firefighting force is based on the volunteers. So there's a lot of hours associated with becoming a volunteer firefighter. So the idea is we have to recruit them. Everybody has jobs, and some have 2 and 3 other jobs just to make ends meet today. So we can't always have the same number of volunteers because of commitments that they have outside of the borough. So the idea here is, the biggest challenge is keeping the ones that we have, providing them the necessary training to do the job safely, and recruiting new volunteers as we start to age out some of the volunteers that have been doing this for 20, 30 years.
So we're doing some really amazing stuff as we do throughout the year, but you're doing something very recently as of last week with the installation of smoke detectors.
Yes, we actually installed smoke alarms. We were given several smoke alarms from the American Red Cross, which they do this every year. And it's not just for the borough, but they do it for others. And we were very excited to continue working with them. And on Saturday, we went and knocked on 200 doors over on the manor and installed smoke alarms in over 50 homes. And we still have some left, so we're still offering smoke alarms for those that need them, and they're for the residents that own their home. We will gladly install and give you a smoke alarm for your home, and typically you would want to have a smoke alarm on each level of your home, in your bedroom and outside your bedroom. Don't put one in your kitchen.
A lesson that I have learned greatly. All four fire companies participate in this venture.
Cooperation among the 4 fire companies has improved greatly from the feedback that I've received from the firefighters, and they are more than willing to work with each other, and they are excited to participate in events like this.
And it's really fantastic, and I just want the community to know, really, again, how grateful I am, because this is predominantly a volunteer fire services, and they do dedicate their lives to the boroughs. They sacrifice their life, their families, their everything to serve the community at as a volunteer. So
at a moment's notice.
So,
we never know when the call's going to come in, and it could interrupt dinner, could interrupt their sleep in the middle of the night. So yeah, without them, we wouldn't have a fire department without costing millions of dollars.
And although it's incredibly expensive to run a fire department, you guys are making do bare minimum. So I really appreciate the fact that we're a township that was once a wealthy industrial township. The bottom dropped out, and the wealth was no longer there, and you weren't getting the funding like you used to, and even the state has pulled back on some of their funding for the firemen's relief. So the guys, they're dedicated to the borough. They stuck it out, and they're working through it when times are hard. So we really, really, really appreciate the services.
Absolutely. I mean, the borough provides a stipend to each individual company, and that helps keeps the door open. And each of the individual companies are performing fundraisers, and without the help of the community, it would really impact them greatly.
And I know it gets tougher and tougher. The economy gets harder, and the borough of Pottstown obviously is a much poorer community than others. So the services that they provide here in the borough of Pottstown is just amazing to me. It's incredible, the work that they do for the little that they have.
Sure. I mean, while they're volunteer, they don't receive a pay. However, to operate the fire truck costs money for fuel, maintenance, buying new fire trucks. Some of our fire trucks are starting to age, and they're having to be replaced. The firefighting turnout gear that they use to go into the burning buildings, it only has a lifespan of 10 years, and that has to be replaced. So everything that they do costs, there's a cost associated with it. And while we have had the same contribution from the borough, the cost associated with it has gone up every year.
Insurances have just increased by 14%, is my understanding. So that's another hard hit when you're already struggling to get by. And then just so people understand what a fire truck costs, you're talking about a piece of equipment that's over $1 million.
Right. We have 2 ladder trucks, and each ladder truck costs anywhere between $850,000 and $1.1 million. And then we have fire engines, the ones that carry the water, and they can range anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000.
And that's without equipment.
And that's without equipment, yes.
Great. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us about the borough's role in the fire department?
Well, my understanding is the ordinances have changed in the last couple of years, which has strengthened this role in this position so that the borough is responsible under law to run the fire department and make the decisions necessary to protect the lives and property of the borough. And without the borough, the way that the department had been running before was a very convoluted aspect. So the borough has made improvements as far as running the fire department.
And Chief, although we've had a couple people that were unhappy with a new change to an ordinance, I think the majority of the people were really excited about a new ordinance change to make things more recreational for the people in the borough of Pottstown. So let's just touch on that briefly.
Sure. Putting the ordinance back in place where it allowed recreational type fires in the backyard. I mean, if you had a fire pit or if you had a commercially made fireplace, you could put it in your backyard. Now, there are some restrictions that go into play with that. You have to maintain distances from combustible surfaces, whether it's a fence, a shed, or your actual home. And you can only burn wood. We don't want you to burn trash. You can't burn leaves, and you can't burn, construction materials. But for the most part, we've had a few people who have issued complaints, and we've investigated those. And if they were doing it illegally and not in compliance with the ordinance, those fires have been extinguished. If they were doing it properly, we allowed them to continue. But the amount of people that are actually burning that we don't hear from is there's no number associated with that. We only hear from the very small that have had an issue, and out of those complaints, half were legitimate concerns and they were in violation of the ordinance. But overall, it's been a very good success.
So we're glad that you're looking at it both ways, so people can enjoy recreational fire, and you're still out there enforcing the laws the way they need to be enforced.
Absolutely.
So while we have your undivided attention, let's just get a few tips on holiday safety.
Sure. Well, we have the big holiday coming up, which is Thanksgiving first. And a lot of times we have people that like to fry their turkey. So if you intend to fry your turkey, the only thing that I ask is that you maintain 20 feet away from your property, because a lot of times people will put in too much oil and heat it up, and you take the turkey and you put it in, the oil overflows the container, and the oil is very flammable. It's almost as flammable as gasoline. My experience is people that have overfilled their turkey fryer have actually burned down garages and parts of their home. So it's very important that you keep that separation distance for your turkey fryers.
And Christmas is following closely behind.
Christmas is coming, and Christmas time can be it's intended to be a wonderful time of the year. And, it's always a difficult time of the year when we have a fire, any type of fire, but Christmas is even more hard hit when there's a fire as a result of Christmas lights, Christmas trees. If you do get a live Christmas tree, I would encourage you and plead with you to keep it well watered. A Christmas tree that is not well watered can actually turn your entire room that it's in into a fireball in under 2 minutes. So it's very important that if you do put a live Christmas tree in there, that you keep it well watered and that you use the appropriate Underwriters Laboratory or UL listed lights on them. Don't put any candles or anything like that on your Christmas trees.
That's all very good. That's all very good advice. Thank you very much. And I'm very excited to have you here in the borough of Pottstown, and I hope that we can keep you as busy and as excited as the city of Reading.
I do not miss working at the city of Reading. What I do miss is I do miss the guys. They had a great bunch of guys. And then I've come here. I have enjoyed the environment. I'm meeting a great bunch of guys here.
Good. They are a great bunch of guys, so I'm really grateful and happy to have them here.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Chief.
You're welcome.
As we continue our segment of things that we're thankful for in the borough of Pottstown, we begin our tour of the volunteer fire companies with the very first established fire company in the borough of Pottstown, the Phillies Fire Company.
Yep.
Bob, can you elaborate? The name is Philadelphia Steam.
The Philadelphia Steam Fire Engine Company, number one.
Number one. And you have been a volunteer here since 2010.
Yep.
And so volunteering, you dedicate your life and your time. This is after you work a full day of work, and then you come in here and you spend your evenings, your weekends. You're dedicating yourself to the life, the safety of the borough residents.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes they come in after work, and sometimes there's calls, and sometimes there's not. It's volunteer, so it's not like you're committed to certain hours. You get home, eat dinner, and if the pager goes off, you get a chance to go help some people.
And that pager could go off at all hours of the day and night.
24/7, 365.
And just to be clear, you're also protecting the lives of all our animal creatures here in the borough.
Absolutely. So if there's an animal in need in a fire or left outside or running rampant, we'll try to mitigate the issue
and save the animal.
Absolutely.
And as we stand here, we're in front of two fire trucks.
Yep.
So the one here, the white and black one, is the newest fire truck. This is the new ladder fire truck.
Yep, this is a 2016 KME Predator. It's a 79-foot aerial on the top there. It's got 500 gallons of water on it, and it can pump up to 1,500 gallons a minute. So it's pretty good piece of apparatus that, was bought for us by the Borough of Pottstown. And it's our first out piece for most calls.
Is Predator the manufacturer's name or the Phillies Fire Company pet name?
No, it's the KME Kovac company. It's their cab design. It's called the Predator.
And the Phillies slime green truck here to our right.
Yep. So all of our trucks used to be slime green until this recent one. This is a 98 Pierce Dash. It's 1,000 gallons of water on it, and it also has a 1,500 gallon per minute pump. This is nice. You can see both of our trucks. Our old ladder used to be green as well until this new recent one, but it serves us well.
Bob, what drew you to volunteerism with the Pottstown Fire Department?
Yeah, I had a couple friends that ran here, and they asked me to maybe try it out, and I think that I would be good at it, so I tried it out, and I've been here ever since.
And your position here is you are in charge of a recruitment and retainment of volunteer firefighters.
Yep.
The juniors and explorers, or all recruitment and retainment?
I do mostly the the probationary and the senior firefighter recruitment, but we have another guy here that's in charge of the explorers, Brian Kish. He does a great job of recruiting that 13 to 18 range and getting them started in the fire service. But on our website, you can go on, download an application, and then I'll get it, and we'll put it through a meeting, and then we'll be able to sit down and get you some fire gear and get you off to fire school.
Bob, what is the website address that people can go on to inquire about volunteerism or anything about the Phillies Fire Company?
So you can go on philliesfireco.org. You can go on the recruitment page. We have our company application right there. You can download it, fill it out, email it over to me, or bring it in person.
And 13 is the youngest that you can join as an explorer?
Yes, I believe it's either 13 or 14, 13 or 14, yeah, one or the other.
And then what are the requirements for each step? So to become a junior then, do you have to serve as an explorer first, or is it an age group?
Yep, so it's an age group. 14 to 16 you would be an explorer, and then a 16 and up to 18, technically it goes to 21, but I consider them adults by after 18. But
And there's schooling requirements.
Yep, so in order to be an interior firefighter, which means that if there's a house on fire, you cannot go inside the burning building per NFPA without having firefighter 1. So it's like I think it's like 300, a little over 300 hours. It's divided up into 4 classes. There's introduction to the fire service, so you'll talk about Benjamin Franklin was the first fireman and how he started the first fire department in Philly. Then you'll do fire ground support, learning how the fire ground operates. And then you'll do exterior firefighter, which is like throwing up ladders to windows, more exterior stuff. And then your last section will be interior, where you'll learn how to put out fires inside the buildings.
And this is actually hands-on training.
Yep. Part of it's classroom and part of it's hands-on.
And all these classes are at Montgomery County?
Yeah, Montgomery County Fire Academy, and we're also looking to bring that class to Pottstown.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you said over 300 hours of training?
Yeah, it's quite extensive, but it's a pretty serious job, so you got to take it a little serious and go to all these classes.
And that's paid for by the fire company?
Yep, the fire company pays for all your training and all the gear and all that stuff. So all you got to do is put in your time, and we'll supply the rest.
And I know that we've done some trainings with you, so it's really exciting stuff. Do you find that that's still your biggest challenge, is recruitment and retainment of volunteer firefighters?
It absolutely is, because like me, I just got off work and I rushed right here. So most people don't get work till about 6 o'clock, and by the time they get done, especially with having families and after they have dinner, they don't really have time to come in the firehouse and hang out.
So really, truly, you're looking for people that are very passionate and are dedicated, and that this is a drive for them.
Right.
It's just not just a pastime.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Bob, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We're speaking with Ashley Reitnauer, and she is the first certified female firefighter at the Phillies Fire Company. So we're excited that the Phillies Fire Company has now joined us in the 21st century. Ashley, what drove you to join the fire department?
Well, honestly, I met some of the guys here in public places, and just hearing their stories, hearing of like the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and just seeing how supportive of a group that they were. And then, obviously their awesome fire stories. As scary as it is, you can't help but be intrigued. So I decided to put in my application and join, and I got the same support, training, the brotherhood. It's all there, and it's been great.
Well, you must have a passion for firefighting because, I always say that most people are running from fires, and here this very unique group of individuals is running towards a fire. What even draws you to that kind of danger and excitement?
Well, when you're there in the moment, whether it's training or real life, it's, your heart is beating fast, and just the adrenaline, that's what gets you hooked. I think you also have to be scared because it's sort of like a respect thing. Like if you're not scared, that's when accidents happen or you get careless. So being scared sort of keeps you in check. So even if you feel like you would be a little scared, you never know what you're capable of. Because I never thought I'd be capable of doing any of this. But like I said, it's really supportive, and they help you. So.
Are you currently the only female firefighter here?
No, we actually have another female. Her name is Courtney, and then we have an explorer. Her name is Ashlyn. And it's been really great too to work with, a younger woman. She's still in school. She's 14, and just seeing her excitement and how it helps her confidence build and her, just love for the firehouse. It's really great to see, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are showing us, you ladies are showing us equal opportunity here. So are you in charge of the female recruitment?
Yes, I have been, yeah.
In charge of inspire more females to get involved in the fire company? And how is that for you? I know it's a brotherhood and you guys all stand at one. Are there any challenges to being a female when you're working with all these men?
I think the only challenge is having the confidence in yourself. Believing in yourself, because like I said, with the Phillies in Pottstown, I've never had an issue of being a female on scene, around the other firefighters. Everyone has been so supportive, and I think, being a female, you can have your stereotypes or whatever, but you just have to be confident, know it's something that you want to do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for your service to the community and for speaking with us tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
We're here with one of the dedicated junior firefighters of the Phillies Fire Company, Elias. And Elias, you just became a junior.
Yep.
You started at what age?
15.
15, and then you turned 16.
Yeah,
okay.
in January, yeah.
And what drew you to fire services?
It just looked interesting and looked like something I would want to do, so just decided to sign up for it.
Were you also in ROTC?
Yeah, for like about 2.5 years or 2 years.
Is that with Pottstown High School?
Yeah.
And you did not find that as challenging and as structured as the fire company?
No, not at all, really.
So this is more harder work and more challenging and something more that you were looking for?
Yeah, you learn a lot here. Like, it's a good program.
Learn a lot, it's all hands-on.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
And I've seen you in trainings, and you have some records in how quickly you can put on gear, how quickly you can remove gear, probably how quickly you can roll up the fire hoses on the fire trucks.
Yeah.
You're very modest, but I know how hard you work. So give us a little more about some of the things that you do.
Go to fire calls, help people in the community, like events, hand out candy at like Halloween parades, help hang up Christmas decorations, like things out in the community.
When you're on a fire call, because you're not an interior firefighter yet, you don't have that certification or that age, what exactly is your role on a fire scene?
They grab gear, get the hose pulled out, set up ladders, basically anything you could do on the exterior of the building.
And as we know, after the fire, there's a lot of work to be done. So, having been able to take part in some of that manual labor of rolling the hoses back on the fire truck, that's very intensive. And how long does that take?
It depends on how big the fire is. If it's small, it's like maybe 2 sections of hose, but it's not bad when you have a lot of people, like everyone's family, so you have a lot of people there helping each other. It goes fast, so it's like less than like 30 minutes.
And how much time were you able to spend with the fire services and along with, going to school?
Pretty much every day, whenever I'm done school and here.
And then you're here on weekends too?
Yeah,
So you must love the fire services.
yeah, I do.
And you plan on, when you become an 18, to go to the schooling and becoming an interior firefighter?
Yep. I started at 17.
You start school at 17?
Yeah, that's when you're allowed to do it.
And I know that the Phillies Fire Company also has a very strict set of rules as far as how well you do in school in order to maintain your volunteerism here.
Yeah, you have to be passing and don't get in trouble and just act right, pretty much.
Well, we're very glad that you're doing all those things successfully, Elias. Well, thank you so much. And are you encouraging your friends to join the fire services? And how's that going for you?
Not my friends, but like if anyone's interested, more than welcome to stop by. Take maybe like one night if you want to be an observer. Take a look at what we do and see if you're interested in it.
Are you able to reach any of your peers in the high school about what you do?
Yeah, there's other junior firefighters around the area, like the Lower Pottsgrove area, and I go to school in Pottsgrove, so.
You go to Pottsgrove?
Yeah.
My apologies, I said Pottstown. Elias, thank you very much for the service to the community.
Thank you.
So we're still here with Elias and Battalion Fire Chief Chad Quinner, and Chad is also a driver here at the Phillies Fire Company.
Yep.
And in a day and age when children need role models and people to look up to, Chad Quinner here is an incredible role model for this young man, and he'd like to let's talk about how Chad got you inspired.
Okay, well, from the start, Chad taught me a lot on how to do things. He also got me into like the EMS side of things, like how to like handle medical situations, and yeah, he taught me a lot ever since I got here. So that's over like a year ago.
So he's your inspiration for being here and staying and moving forward.
Yeah, he's my hero.
Chad, how did you find this young man?
Basically, I mean, Elias did come into the firehouse, and we always gear towards the younger people. I pictured Elias as me when I first came in. Same thing. I came in at the age of 14. I wanted to learn. He was a very respectful kid, and we just continued.
And how long have you been here with the Phillies?
I've been here since the age of 14, so I'm actually probably about 21 years right now.
And how long have you been a driver here?
6 years.
So that's wonderful. So there is opportunities to go from, starting as a youth and then going into a career with the fire services.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm trying to gear Elias towards because he did mention the whole EMS thing. He just enrolled in the EMT program down at Goodwill that starts in January, and he's definitely excited doing that too.
That's fantastic. So all the youth that are out there listening to us now, you have a wonderful role model at the Phillies Fire Company in Chad Quinner.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your service,
Yep.
Chad. Hi, we're continuing our segment for Thanksgiving and things we're thankful for in the borough of Pottstown. And we're out here this afternoon on the east end of town with Deputy Fire Chief of Goodwill Fire Company, Dwayne Brady. Dwayne, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Dwayne, can you tell us a little bit about what your role is with the fire company and what got you motivated, started, and your passion with the fire services?
Well, to start off, I got into fire service after 9/11. I joined in October of 2001. Actually started at the Phillies Firehouse, spent about 5 years there. And then my passion was to go for rescue, so I moved down here to become rescue, worked my way up through to deputy chief here of the heavy rescue squad and special operations unit, which means we do specific rescues such as trench rescues, building collapses, and things like that, that your normal rescue teams could play a part of but aren't usually equipped to take care of. My father was in the fire service for 45 years. I didn't do it until later in life, but it's definitely become a passion of mine. I'm also a full-time code enforcement officer for a township and assistant fire marshal for that same township. So here at Goodwill, I assist the chief as needed for fundraising, for training, do a lot of the training, and then just running the day-to-day operations as far as helping him with things that he can't do, because he's actually a full-time medic here at Goodwill, EMT here at Goodwill. So with that, that would be if there's a training. A lot of times I run the trainings. We look over trucks. I work part-time here for the rescue unit, so I work when guys take vacations and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I serve the community and what we do.
And fundraising is a crucial part of what you do. Each fire company gets a small stipend from the borough, and a large percentage of that, nearly 90%, goes out to salaries and insurances, which leaves very little bit left for building maintenance.
Right.
So then you guys are left to raise funds.
Yes, and a lot of that takes time. We do flower sales. We do Mother's Day and flower sales, and we do Easter flower sales. We also do fundraising down at the county. The County Fire Academy, we do a lot of their lunches for them. So we go down and provide meals for them and get paid for that service. We also do odds and ends throughout the year to help offset some of that cost.
And then you also give back to the community in other ways, because I see that you're currently doing a Toys for Tots drive.
Yes, we do the Marine Toys for Tots each year. We're always out in the community. Just about a month or so ago, we were out and did the Red Cross smoke detector campaign, where we just picked a section of town that had some fires in it and went house to house handing out free smoke alarms. So we had a good turnout from the borough department, and we're able to give out free smoke alarms to anybody that requested them.
There's still smoke alarms left if they're needed?
There are still smoke alarms that are available. All you have to do is either call Borough Hall and ask for the fire chief, or you can stop here, call your local fire station, and then what we do is set up a time for a firefighter to come out and install them for you.
And what do you find in this day and age in a borough that was once a wealthy industrial borough that the bottom has pretty much dropped out? What do you find your biggest challenges today in fire services?
The biggest challenge to us as a fire department, if I had to guess, would be getting recruit and keeping those recruits as far as new volunteers coming in. Not many people want to volunteer at all. If they do, they definitely don't want to volunteer in a situation where you're going into somebody's burning house. The other thing is the guys that we have, trying to keep those guys. Well, we run a combination department, and it would be good to, through those funds that we receive, to get those guys a raise, but also encourage volunteers to come out by doing stipends and other things. That would lessen their money, because a lot of us volunteers, what we have, we put our own money out for. So if you go to my car right now, I got a ton of stuff in there that's, bought and paid for by me because I want to be able to do this job. And everybody does it the same way.
You're coming upon your 150th anniversary, give or take a year or two on that. Tell me a little bit more about the calls that you receive and what you do day to day.
Okay. When people look at the fire service years ago, it was you went to fires. You put out a house fire, you put out a car fire, and you returned. Today, the fire service has been tasked with more and more duties. We do, here especially, we do what they call QRS. We're a quick response unit for the EMS service. We go out and assist them, whether it be a lift assist, a cardiac arrest. If they need access to a building, we will do that. That's just one type. We do car accidents, which are becoming fewer and fewer because of the way the cars are built. But we do multiple things in that area. Like I said, we do trench rescues here. We do building collapse when they come in. The problem with retaining some of the volunteers is those things don't happen every day, and we don't have fire every day. You know, you're talking years ago, it was nothing to have 1 or 2 fires. We run about 1,000 fire calls here, and probably 80% of those are either smoke calls from somebody cooking, or just what we would call false alarm, or an alarm system, not so much a true fire. With that, you know, we assist in other areas. You know, we do water rescue, so we go out to other companies and do that type of stuff. You're doing hazardous materials stuff now, so you have to have training for that. The amount of training that we need, especially for a volunteer, takes a lot of time to do. But it is a good career. It's a great job, and you can get a lot of enjoyment out of helping the community that you serve and where you live. So if anybody's interested, just stop by one of the 4 stations and just walk in and see how you can help and how you can support. We need support for people that even don't go fight fires. We look for support for board members, people that are outside that maybe have some business savvy that would be willing to sit on a board. We could have people come in and just do social events. You know, we need the hall set up for an event or something like that. All those types of people are needed. If you're good at handiwork, a lot of times the firehouses need somebody to come in and make repairs. Any of that, they're all different ways that our community could help and assist the fire services in Pottstown.
Are there different trainings required for the rescue side? We know with the interior firefighters is about 188 hours of training, and then there's additional trainings that they need to be on the rescue side.
Yes, the standard firefighter 1, firefighter 2 cert could run, both of those certs could run you about 200 hours. Because with that, then you do the hazardous material basics. But when you start getting into rescue, the training is more. You're looking at medical training, because when you're rescuing somebody, you need to also do medical care. And then when you get into the special rescues, like the structural collapse and stuff like that, some of those classes are 80 hours by themselves in order to get certified to do that. So your hours jump way up when it comes to that.
So this is very intense. This is very intensive work for volunteers, but there are career opportunities, not necessarily just within the Pottstown Fire Department, but many of our volunteers move on to careers in other townships and municipalities and cities.
If you're passionate about it, a volunteer service is a good way to get started. There's quite a few guys. We just have one of the younger guys that I know from a different township just got hired on in Baltimore. You know, started out as a volunteer right here in our area, and then wanted to go to a big city to be a firefighter. Made it through, and that's what he's going to be doing. So this is kind of like a stepping stone if you want to do those things. But you get into this, it's kind of getting on the ground floor. Once you get your firefighter 1, that's kind of the ground floor. You can always build it up from there. You can become an officer, you can become a chief. We all started at the same location, the same bottom ground, and built your way up. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you come and put your time in, learn and train, you'll get more out of it. If you come to the firehouse and just sit and wait for that call, that's what you're going to get out of it, not much. So I encourage you just to look up. If nothing else, stop in as a community, stop into the firehouses, look around, and get to know the people that are going to be coming to your house on the worst day of your life.
Exciting stuff, and please support your local fire services. We are out here at North End Fire Company at the north end of Pottstown with career driver representative Travis Leister. And Travis, this is the youngest fire company in the borough, but when I say young, it's not so young.
No, it's not.
So you're 67 years?
1957 we opened.
And how long have you been driving out here?
A little over 17 years.
17 years, that's incredible. What is your passion for fire services?
It was kind of in the blood with both sides of my family. Both my My mom's father was a firefighter, and on my father's side, he was a firefighter, and his father was actually a fire chief.
And we're sitting out here on an air truck.
Yes.
Which is, each fire company has its own unique equipment and vehicles that service the borough. What is different about this truck?
The air truck supplies air to fill the firefighter's cylinders after a fire or during a fire and replenish the air tanks. It doesn't carry any water or pump any water. It's a service piece that carries additional equipment and 6 cylinders to refill the smaller cylinders that the firefighters use.
And obviously that's pretty important that you, how much oxygen does a tank hold in a fire?
It's compressed air, and it's supposed to last 30 minutes, but under normal working conditions in a fire, it's probably more closer to 15 to 20 minutes.
So crucial that depending on what the scene is, the emergency scene is, that this truck is there.
Yes.
Travis, what do you find is your biggest challenge in fire services today?
Manpower issues. I know when I started 30 some years ago, it was nothing to have 20, 30 guys out, even on daytime calls, and now the volunteer with the training and everything else, the volunteers just have diminished.
And what would you say to the volunteers to get them into the fire services? Because this is a pretty exciting, intense field. What would you say to them that would encourage them to come join?
Camaraderie, just a brotherhood. I know it's difficult. When I was younger, we used to get a lot of kids that would come in that didn't go to college. Now you get the young kids that come in and they're off to college and sometimes never see them together. They relocate throughout the country, and it's tough to keep people.
So, but one of the important things about joining the fire services when you're young is that it's something that you can take with you to college and to a career somewhere else if you are going to relocate.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good learning experience for anybody.
Not just a learning experience, but also a skill set.
Yes. I know a lot of the community service accounts for if the kids use it in high school and stuff, and it's a lot better than some of the other things they could be doing.
And although it requires a lot of training just to be a volunteer, to be able to do interior fire services or emergency or rescue, there's a lot of career opportunities available for people that start as volunteers with the fire services.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just the firefighting, it's investigations, there's the fire marshal aspect, there's all kinds of job opportunities out there in this field.
And expanding outside of the field, because we've had some of our firefighters have gone into law enforcement.
Yes. We've had several from here going to the military. Our one younger guy that was a junior when I started, he's actually an assistant chief in the U.S. Air Force at this time.
Assistant fire chief?
Yes.
That's very exciting. Travis, as we know, there's a lot of challenges in the borough of Pottstown as, again, it was once a thriving industrial town, and the bottom has dropped out economically here. So what is it that you, other than the challenges that you see in fire services, where do you see the future of fire services going in the borough of Pottstown?
Well, as far as Pottstown, it's pretty much throughout the country. The calls are up and the volunteers and firefighters are down. There's job opportunities popping up all over the country where they're starting to put career firefighters in full-time, part-time, just to complement and offset some of the lacking of volunteers. Eventually, Pottstown may have to increase their firefighters by adding a few more full-time guys, just with the lack of volunteers that come out for certain times of the day. Daytimes, we're really scratching and hurting for guys, and even overnight sometimes.
And a lot of times, obviously, during the day, people have full-time jobs that they have to go to, so they can't be here during the day.
No, it's not a fault of anyone. A lot of people are working 2 and 3 jobs anymore just to support their families, so it's not a fault of anyone. A lot of people just don't have the time to do it like they used to years ago.
Travis, we have a lot of new changes in the borough of Pottstown with the hiring of a new borough fire chief. Can you tell us what your relationship with him is?
I get along with Chief Lassard very well. I think he was a good pick to replace longtime Chief Lengel. We have a lot of new changes that came in to the department, and he's changing a lot of things, trying to be very progressive, and I think he has a very good future looking forward to the department.
I think we are excited to have Chief Lassard. He does come out of the city of Reading, so he deals with a great deal of on a scale with a very urban environment. So fire service is very different in an urban environment than it is in a rural environment or even a suburban environment. So we're very happy to have him on board.
He was definitely a good addition.
And I want to thank you very much for your services to the Pottstown Fire Department.
You're welcome.
And this is our Thanksgiving edition of the Pottstown Boro Buzz. I'm your host, Cheryl Miller, and thanking the Pottstown Fire Department, the entire companies, and the department for their services to the Borough of Pottstown. What is it that you're thankful for? I'm standing outside the former Empire Hook and Ladder Fire Company on Chestnut and Franklin Streets in the borough of Pottstown, which was housed here for 92 years prior to moving into the Goodwill Fire Company on High Street in 2012. We had scheduled several, over the last couple weeks, we had scheduled interviews with all four of the Pottstown fire companies, and unfortunately, fire and services come first, and Empire Hook and Ladder for 2 interviews have been out on fire calls. And fortunately and unfortunately, that is the job of the Pottstown Fire Department, to be out reporting to fires and serving the community. We hope to be able to catch up with the drivers and volunteers from Empire Hook and Ladder Fire Company at a later date. Thank you for watching this episode of the Pottstown Borough Buzz. I'm your host, Cheryl Miller, and we'll see you next time.